Yeah, it took me forever to push talk. I was gonna say it's not a date.
Anyway, recording started, so we could, whatever, if everyone's ready.
Oh, hell yeah. All right, cool. So then, if everyone is here and I see that everyone is everyone in game? Yeah, everyone's here. Just waiting on Mish and Sam. I assume will connect as soon as he is able to. Let me pull my mic a
Yeah,
little closer.
I can still hear and eventually respond.
Theater of the mind for you, Samuel. So, some things have happened during the last 4 or 5 hours in game. Who would like to start us off with a recap, starting with the discovery of the doors leading into Moa's temple?
The doors leading into Moa's temple had writing all around them in Draconic. It was so cool. And it told the story of the nine trickster gods, a very a very specific story. um, After gleaning some information, we got in the door. I don't remember exactly how we did it. I think it was removing a word and placing it in a specific spot.
Yep.
Uh, from there, we went inside. We initially, Alina walked up to a mirror that with water beneath it that felt cold and got her face slapped in by an ooze. We killed the ooze. We moved forward. Even though we saw like there could be a secret path there, we went forward. We ended up fighting some undead in the main central area with the Darius. We doubled back, cut through the secret passage that we found, and then did a huge ring of fighting all the way through to a nice comfy room, and found out that the majority of the temple is all one wing up top. We got some cool weapons throughout the process. We found out some things. We uh, got a bunch of crystals, and then after a rest, or during the rest, Karn tried to convince Roar to take apart one weapon to put a piece on another, and because Roar only saw how ugly and old and battered Karn's weapon looked, he was like, "Why would I put that junk or break a masterpiece weapon just to put that junk on there?"
It's not right.
And there's Mish.
There's
Hello.
Mish.
um, there was a lot of other stuff that happened for wrestling, but I'm gonna jump past that to cover what I know really quick. Uh, we after wrestling left, started heading back, and as we worked our way into the next area, we actually found out by some some people noticed it earlier on, other people didn't until later, that there was this banging soundtrack happening beneath us. Some club formed. We cleared out the last thing, got the last crystal, opened up the thing, and then were met with a floating skull that was just singing the seventh element at us and trying to make us go crazy. We heard things coming up from behind, so we immediately, no, when I say me, Roar called out and had Biff remove one of the crystal eyes from the snake statue so that the dais would close back up, and that removed the bottom half of a skeleton and kept another skeleton down there. We dispatched everything. The taint seemed to go away. The dais, we put Crystal back in, went back down, found Master Kaliad, and I'm really jumping things here.
You could let
There
someone
was
else give it a shot for a little bit.
Does
okay.
someone else want to cut in?
I don't know. In the game, it says that Dom raised his hand, so.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. Here we go. Removed. Yeah, Sam. If you do want to continue, you can take your time with it.
Okay. So after finding Master Kaliad, we initially, foolishly, Roar gave her his last spell slot of power, and then she screamed more, more, and went kind of evil on us. And as she moved away from her font of power, it turned into, or became obvious that it was somehow turned into a negative point of conflicts, where it was unbalanced, uh, due to how, I want to say it was Biff, Alina, and Leah, based on how they worked together to keep Kaliad away from it and seal it. They were able to fix it so it was a positive plane of energy, or conflux point, which seemed to free things up. And yeah, at this point, I will back out because the next part should be covered by either Leah or Alina's players.
That sounds appropriate.
I wanna. I just want to make sure. What was it, Leah? That helped, and not Klinkle. I know Klinkle was like
Clinkles
Twinkle's
and
a
Shadows.
completely different game.
okay. Sorry,
Twinkle's a Friday character.
sorry.
It was Leah and Alina.
Yeah,
With Biff's aid and Leah's natural connection to the elemental plane of positive energy, the positive energy plane, the point of conflux was essentially hijacked. By channeling and opening up that connection, the negative energy plane was quelled, and in its place, um, a opening to the positive energy plane was put in its place.
yeah. And Caliad wanted to stay there. To continue her work, her work. But everybody convinced her. Uh, you can come back to this. This will be here. But come out and see the new world that you've awakened in.
Caliad has
Bring
joined the
back
party.
the grindstone.
Yeah, she just wants to get back to work, but you guys convinced her to maybe check things out, see the world a little bit. During this transition, after the plane of negative energy was quelled and a rift to the positive energy plane was put in its place, the magic was still wild and still fluctuating, and what the party quickly realized after this transition occurred was that Leah was nowhere to be found. Leah experienced some fucking shit as she found herself on the other side of the rift, within the plane of positive energy, with seemingly no means back. The rest of the party surmised that, well, shit, maybe she went through. And so Alina was like, tie her up to me. I'm gonna go through.
Alina does not have very many brain cells to rub together. Well, she has lots of intelligence. She just doesn't. She doesn't have any. No, don't do that voice in her head.
There is no
Karn is
self-preservation instinct.
Karn is certainly not Alina's conscious in that regard, because when he heard her plan, he promptly turned around and offered his new Ankylosaurus tail as an anchor.
Yep. And together, this is
You're
Jackass.
gonna enable people to make sure they're safe.
At least give them an anchor to tug on. So, while within the plane of positive energy, Leah, you saw some shit. You also experienced some shit.
And I made a tiny hut.
And you made a tiny hut. I believe during that time, Alina also saw much the same thing. So as the two of you, as Alina making her way to Leah, and Leah surrounding herself in a dome to protect herself from the effects of the positive energy plane, you saw a giant of some kind. A large, huge, actually, gargantuan perhaps, bronze-skinned, human-looking creature dressed in what appeared to be the, not armor, but the style of wear of the native Takalans.
Booktown wanted to know what the hell we were up to.
You guys surmised that, oh shit, this might be some Oobtao in some form, inspecting just what the hell is happening within this plane. You were given instructions, Leia, to find the heart and bring it back to where it belongs, while Oobtao opened up a return portal. Together, you two worked to get through the portal as quickly as possible to avoid burning any further. And when Leah reappeared, though many of the wounds were starting to heal, you came back with a strange mark. Leah's eyes are very faintly illuminated with this golden, yellowy light. From there, Khalid regained her composure. The influence of the positive energy plane having some effect on not only her, but Adano. After some hemming and hawing, you convinced Khalid to return to the surface to check out the world, to see what's going on, perhaps give you some pointers, put you in the right direction to whatever goals you may be trying to achieve in Tagal. This is, of course, their home turf. Sort of.
They might have been Rip Van Winkling for a bit, but
They might have been ripping Van Winkling for a bit, but they're still OGs. You discovered that upon sitting on the throne, that concentration dais, the one that Khalid had been using to quell the undead in the surrounding area and keep them passive. Upon sitting there, her vitality and physicality was restored. The same happened to Adano. So as you guys made your way to the boat upon the surface of the water, Khalid and Adano followed along with rosy cheeks and skin that looked like skin. They do not seem to possess the taint of undeath, or at least not the rot of undeath that the two had been associated with prior. As you gathered upon the boat, he began to speak of various things, the various comings and goings of the island, what you knew, and what Khalid could offer you in terms of information. She gave you information about Master Arenda, the evocation master, who had set up a number of colonies along the base of Mistcliff Mountains in order to closer study and investigate the elemental pings and resonances within that area. There was mention of points of elemental conflux. As an evocationist, this was something relevant to her. Though she had long gone silent and had not come back to speak with Khaled in some time, the last Khaled had heard she had discovered some kind of artifact. A glove said to have belonged, or a gauntlet said to have belonged to Moradin. She also made mention of the ziggurat, or rather, you guys mentioned the ziggurat, at which point she attempted to correct you, making mention of a white stone pyramid nearby, to which you responded it was black and surrounded by undead and half buried in the jungle. It seems there are more inconsistencies between the memory of the Baelnorn elves and what the party has discovered.
Jumping in real quick, when we learned about the ziggurat, was that where Karn had heard? Correct me if I'm wrong. Something about the ziggurat that was similar to the stones or the metal that he had seen in his vision of Ciela. Or no, it was attributed as a location that was important to the Koboloi, wasn't it?
Koboloi.
Yeah, that was
Yes,
it.
so much so that your stowaway actually perked up and began to chime in the back of your mind and actively began to speak through your shadow. Um, as you're all kind of talking and chatting and speaking, uh, Karin, you can hear Rua, and her voice is very quiet, but she seems very, very interested and very concerned and very excited about the prospect of this whole thing. So let's find an appropriate music track as we dive back into game. Unless anyone has anything else to add.
Nothing in terms of summary, but I did want to note that with everyone coming back aboard, Vanya would be interested in seeing the state of everyone. Very curious by the restored state of the Baelnorn, especially since Adanu is no longer wearing the blindfold. And is just
Yeah.
kind of interested in listening to everyone talk about what's gone on. So she's set aside her studies for the moment.
Right, so as people gather together on the boat, it is close to 7 p.m. The sky is beginning to change color. There's not quite as much luminance from the sun above, and you find yourself on the bank of the River Ocean Star with a number of tall trees kind of overhanging and creating yet more shade. It's cozy as the water um, slowly lolls down the river, the sun kind of bouncing and glittering off the surface.
I would like to know more about what you know about the Koboloi.
This one would also like to know what these ones know of the Koboloi.
All right. A moment. So, at the mention of the Kobolai, both Adanu and Khalid, they sit cross-legged on one side of the boat, kind of with their backs to the rails. You see that your other companions are giving them a wide berth. Um, Adanu is prestidigitating his robes clean, and has since turned to Khaled to begin drying off her clothes as well. Adanu speaks up and kind of furrows his brow. Oh, the small folk, they're moon worshippers. They have long been pleasant neighbors to the north, though I cannot say I know very much of them. To which Khaled raises her head slightly and begins to speak. I've spent a considerable amount of time among their people. When we first arrived in Omu from our corners of the world to approach our academic endeavors, we came to find there were many, not displaced, but this was shortly after the calamity, you see. A number of the native tribes were suffering and rebuilding and picking up the pieces. Among them were the Turtle folk to the far south, the Envy to the west of us, the Leonid to the central, mostly the center of the island, and the Koboloi to the north. Their people had been afflicted. Their ability to manipulate the magics of the world had been diminished. A number of their eldest and those who were gifted with the arcane had unfortunately perished during the calamity. They were much like children trying to walk in their parents' footsteps. Naturally, I had a bit of a soft spot for them. I grew to know their matriarch, a lovely small woman named Ciela. And at the mention of that, Karin, you hear Rua speak up, and her voice is just barely audible, but you can hear her audibly, and those near you can hear her speak up. Ciela, she knows Ciela. She's the oldest one that we've ever known. Long before she disappeared, she was our leader, our go-to.
How long ago did the Ciela disappear?
You get the impression of shrugging and head shaking, though you don't actively see it. You get the impulse of the sensation.
This one has seen the Ciela in a vision. How long do the Koboloi live?
Well, it depends on whether or not we get dusted or turned to stone. Usually it's the latter, sometimes the former. We don't always have big, strong wooden men to bind ourselves to when we get dusted.
But when one does not get dusted or turned to stone?
Carrick's super old. He's older than dirt. Don't tell him I said that. Do not tell him I said that.
Very old.
And as you speak to your shadow, Khalid's ears kind of perk up. You have a passenger.
Yes.
And she nods her head. And you can see that she's kind of pieced together kind of what's happening. I see. Perhaps after nightfall and the moon is high, your friend might see fit to come out and play.
Karn nods. This one and the Rua have many questions about the Koboloi and the Ciela. These ones are searching for the Ciela.
Khalid nods. Ciela was... she was driven. She wanted to retake the people's former glory, and uncover a path home, she called it. It would seem that the Koboloi were displaced people. Not in the most traditional sense. From what I gather from the tales, uh, they're not from here, strictly speaking. Her point of focus were places of power. And these places, places of conflux, places of spiritual potency, they became subjects of our conversation throughout our multiple discussions. Her people had lost much of their culture when they were afflicted by the calamity. But she was aware of this pyramid, the ziggurat that you described. She spoke about it as a temple devoted to the moon, shrouded in mystery. But she believed it to be belonging to the Koboloi people. That in time, they would perhaps venture into the jungle, brave the dangers there, and retake it for themselves, to find what secrets might be stored there, or to attune to the power inherent. They believed that the fact that, though the sun does them harm, but the light from the moon does not, they believed that they came from the moon. Somewhat of a,
Oh,
somewhat of a funny thought. So I believed at the time.
As she's telling this story, Biff is leaning closer and closer behind her. Like, and at the end of it, he's like almost like nose to her back with his while stroking his chin.
Can I help you?
Biff is listening about people from other planes.
Oh, there are many people from several different planes. Most of the elemental planes and tertiary realms have people in them.
the moon is an elemental plane.
Oh, no, not strictly speaking, but it is believed to be a place of powerful magic.
Perhaps for it is the sun, the opposite of the sun, the moon is of the dark plane.
The sun is an elemental plane.
The sun perhaps is a plane of fire, or it comes from, or it is part of. It would make sense, yes?
Karn looks as though his mind has been blown.
Roar's just silently shaking his head in disapproval.
All the elves just give those two the look.
Yeah, Khalid does not seem sold at the idea of the sun or the moon being elemental planes, but she's doing that thing where you kind of like smile and nod apologetically, but don't say a thing.
Vanya is just quietly walking around Khalid and Adanu and just investigating them.
And Karn, as you sit and think, your mind blown, you hear, and those near you hear, as Rua speaks quietly through your shadow. That reminds me of a story, actually. I'm gonna try this coming out and playing thing once it's darker, and I I think I'd like to share it. It might be helpful. It might not. But this is sounding really familiar and really kind of weird because this is the kind of shit that they tell kids before they go to bed, and it's not supposed to be real.
Those are the best kinds of stories, Vanya says
I don't.
without stopping her investigation.
Yeah, I don't like them. Cowlid goes to stand, and Biff, as she goes to stand, she doesn't really seem to shy away from your presence behind her. Um, if anything, it seems like she's moving in spite of you. She begins to just walk along the length of the ship, looking out toward the water. If this temple truly does belong to the Koboloi people, I myself would be very interested to learn if there was anything of merit inside of it.
This
Ciela,
one as well.
she nods toward you, Karn, and nods to look at Lena, who likewise was interested. Ciela was borderline obsessed with the idea of recovering a people's lost things. A number of the stories and scraps and with little of the magic that they had put on paper, what they knew of the world, that was brought to the library to the south, shared along with the information of the Envy and uh, the Total Folk and the Leonid, the Anathean. Between the two places, you might find something to help with this diminishment of your people. Perhaps even do something to undo the sore state you found yourself in. She looks toward your shadow, Karn, as she addresses Rua. Beyond that, there was a city near the shore where I last knew the Koboloi had resided. There were other smaller places within the woods. They took refuge in the darkness of the forest. After the fall of Omo, after what Sirak did, a number of those small colonies were unfortunately lost to the jungle.
A city on the water?
Near the shore, to the very far north, tucked away in a small peninsula within a bay.
Karn will look around and then find Verdi. Ah, map.
Verdi will, because he was very into listening, pause a moment and then scramble to take a map out.
She approaches the map, and you see her movements are sprightly and quick. She moves upon the balls of her feet, her ears kind of bobbing as she peeks over the map and looks over.
Vanya is watching this while stroking her chin.
Oh, this is an exquisite map, but... These rivers are new. That jungle is new. That desert is new. Where is the rest of the land? How queer indeed. Oh, yes, the peninsula. And she hovers a finger around Port Yanzaro. Around this point, there was a large collection of them, and she traces her finger up and through the jungle, marking off several small little dots here and there in the woods, and eventually settles her finger on the, not quite the most northern tip, but the northeastern tip of the island near a mountain. A place where you understand there is a set of ruins that Crosp was interested in investigating. One of their places of worship were here. There was a small tribe, a small colony, just beyond the other side of the mountains, in a shady nook where the sun never shines. They would visit this, I suppose, a palisade? No, a promenade. They would visit it by night during full moons. As Karn jots down scribbly notes.
These tools are not robust. Ah,
Got it?
maybe.
Okay. Should be able to select it and just double click.
Yep.
Cool beans. She nods. As far as what else I know about the Kogoloi, well, they were peculiar folk. Tiny. Sprightly. They possessed a form of magic that was empathetic. They could sense what you were feeling with a touch. Share a dream. Change their faces. And even to fly the ground. Float in the air if they so chose. As for Ciela, well, she was driven. Flirtatious to a fault. Curious about the other creatures in the world, curious about her taller neighbors. The Leonid could not stand her. I quite enjoyed that about her. Warden Khan, you said you had seen her. Whereabouts?
Imprisoned.
Imprisoned?
I'll describe what I saw of the prison, noting the metal. Was it which metal was it?
It was black metal.
The black metal.
The umbral iron, as you're called.
Umbral iron. And it was
Yes,
like a stone prison with umbral iron bars?
Yep. Very dark, barely dimly lit. So she lives and wastes away in a prison of umbral iron. Umbral iron? This is a rare, very rare metal.
So this one has heard.
Both Khalid and Adanu nod in your direction. Khalid returns to face her back to one of the rails, arms folded as she stands next to Biff, watching Yukon, and Adanu remains cross-legged on the ground. And Adanu speaks. Yes, the application of certain metals with etheric properties was common among our time. Following the calamity, many of us gathered what remained of the wondrous inventions that the young gods had left behind. Among them, few people had access to certain materials, hard-to-work materials, rare materials. When we arrived in Omu, the wardens were already there. It was their city. Well, it was their nursery in which the city was built around. To greet us and to continue the bonds of friendship, they had given us certain gifts. Meister Roar, do you still possess those pedestals, those chests?
Yes. One moment, please.
And I'll put up the portable hole, and I'll step inside, pull out one of them, and come back out.
He nods as you hold it in your arms. Ah, yes, the pedestals, the primed pedestals. They are chests, artful containers created by the wardens themselves, using their materials from within the nursery. They are secure things. The black iron can withstand both magical and mundane attempts to break into it. If you should try, you will find that that black iron is nigh indestructible, at least by mortal means. They're ideal for safes and vaults, and many of us masters, we kept our treasures hidden within them, close by. Cowlip nods. Those particular ones were made in such a way that they would only open if one of the Masters of Magic was nearby, i.e., me. They were only intended to be opened by my faith keepers after consulting the words that I had left behind for them. They were to awaken me for my permission to open them. I never did expect to fall into such a deep trance, however.
Do these ones know if the special metals were used to construct anything in cities?
Adano and Khalid, they rack their brains and they look between each other. It was such a rare material. We accepted the gifts as priceless things. We did not ever ask for them to build structures with what material they had. We always assumed it to be rare and precious. Believed it to be rare and precious. As he says that, Roar, you see Gallium stir and kind of lean forward. Friend Roar, would you mind? May Gallium see this thing?
Sure. And I will carry it over to him to look at.
Yeah, he picks it up and... Ooh, this is a heavy thing. It's not surprising that not much is built from these. And he flicks the black steel with his finger and it makes a loud twanging noise. He pulls back his hand and flings it a couple times, shaking off some perceived pain in his fingertip. These incredible materials. Here, look. And he draws fingers along the outer rim of the chest where you see this mercurial, colorful, pale blue steel, which catches the light in multiple different directions, giving it different specular colors in its reflections. Gillian believes this to be authentic celestial steel. And the darker metal is, well, it has the weight and the feel of umbral iron, but is very well worked. Adanu turns his attention to Gallium. You know of this material? Is legendary. Were you going to say something?
Biff was just gonna comment celestial steel. You cannot just say such a thing and not expound upon that. His name is Celestial.
For it is made by gods. Simple. The celestial steel is alloy from Age of Wonder. The exact method of creating celestial steel is lost to time, but as name implies, it is alloy. Some may say is made with tears of gods made solid. Others say it is simply alchemic in nature, but the secrets are guarded by divine keepers. And the properties spoken, and he slowly turns this around, looking at it as he sees himself in the reflections. Spoken of within the legends line up, however. Material is said to be light, flows smooth once heated, can remain sharp forever once edged. Only incredibly tough material can chip or dull this edge, such as, and he flicks the black iron along the center again. This stuff. Ball is said to work such material. If you can get a hold of it, is quite controversial methods. Biff, as though awaiting your protests, Gallium does wiggle his eyebrows at you.
Player might have
What
missed the.
is? Oh, go ahead.
Like, I know. No, go ahead. I'm.
Referring to your when you first mentioned that you can't just drop that.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
see, he's goading you. Alina, you speak up.
Yeah. All right, all right. We have run into a lot of controversial this today. Why don't you just expand on it?
Manetta, I like this crowd. So, and he places the pedestal down, his knees bend, and as though looking about a campfire, he looks across the group, hands open. He said, only way to melt celestial steel is with special flame from the fire elemental plane. Blood is cold. So cold, in fact, it is deadly poison to the citizens of the fire elemental plane. Stories say, all throughout the wilds, this blue flame has been extinguished, destroyed, erased from their place. But there is rumor. Within the civilized reaches of the plane of fire, some say blue flame is coveted by the royalty there. It may be hidden away in secret by the most powerful entities within Alloy, the city of brass. Or so stories tell.
Why would you name a city after brass?
It is made of brass.
There is no way we are going to elemental plane of fire to retrieve this blue flame.
Gallium should hope not. Entire plane of fire. He looks to you, Karn. The entire plane of fire is made of fire. The air is fire. The ground is fire. The rocks are lava, but also fire. The people are fire. They think fire. Their magic is fire. Can you breathe fire? Gallium cannot. Yet.
When Gallia mentions, can Karn breathe fire? Karn opens his mouth, closes it, and looks thoughtful.
Hmm. This is
We don't
problem
need to
Gallium
breathe,
has run into.
though.
He actually takes a moment to tap his chin with a clunking sound.
Biff
This is true, technically.
Biff rubs his chin harder. Cannot breathe. And you said yet. Biff cannot breathe fire as Biff is, but would have perhaps with training and the proper stone is something to think about.
Gallium lifts his hands and lifts his shoulders up and kind of tilts his head. There are magics. There are travelers who have come from plane of fire to prime material plane. There are ways to travel with relative safety. Is said, if one is to be guests of Alloy, City of Brass, a host will use magic to make you less, burny.
People have come from elemental plane of fire. How do they exist on this plane?
It's much easier for anything to survive on this plane. Plane, prime material plane is the nice plane. It is why you are always seeing demons and devils and elementals coming through. It is why fae folk come this way.
This
It is
one,
like a vacation place.
this one
Paradise.
is still very curious where these umbral iron bars are that are holding the Ciela prisoner.
It's strange that you are saying bars. Umbro Island. He scratches his head and there's a creaking sound as his fingertips dig into the dome of his head. He said umbral iron grows naturally in two places. In the deepest recesses of the elemental plane of Earth, and deep within the Underdark, with the lines between the both realms blur. Umbral iron is heavy, incredibly strong, and impossibly difficult to work with. Gillian does not understand how it's possible that they have such fine lines on this. He's defying reason. But
Perhaps you must defy reason to do the amazing.
perhaps perhaps those who have built it were taught by Moradin himself. He said that Moradin could work umbral iron. He said, well, at least in legend, that Moradin formed a pact with a fire titan to borrow a magical flame, the only flame hot enough to melt umbral iron. But this is legends. You know, they are sometimes right, sometimes wrong, conflicting ideas.
But
No
always
one,
based on some sliver of truth.
that is what Galleon believes. He points a waggling finger at Yubef. No one quite knows the particulars of the deal, or where the black flame is found. It may be possible to create these flames, blue flame and black flame respectively, and alchemically, magically, and no one quite knows how, and those who have gotten close have found themselves destroyed in the process. uh, but the magical flame may be possible. He gives the pedestal a flick, and perhaps even magic like mending. Celestial steel is said to take well to magic. Umbral iron, however, not so much. If there is iron bars made of this stuff, is meant to keep something truly nasty within. You see, not only is it strong and durable, but it is anchored. Etherically speaking, anchored. It defies shifts and changes on the weave.
So it's magic proof?
Duh, essentially. If you are to keep powerful magical entity trapped somewhere, you use umbral iron. If you are to make a weapon to kill God, celestial steel.
If we remember when the next task is to kill an unthroned god.
Gallium scratches the back of his head and, well, right tool for a job, Gallium supposes. Roar, may I study this a while longer? It's quite interesting.
I mean, sure. But we
Ah.
had something else to look at, too.
Oh, more things. He places it down and he kind of taps and wraps his hands on his knees. As you mentioned that, and as Gallium kind of dominates story time, you see Khalid and Adanu are kind of speaking quietly among themselves. The sun is growing a little further and more distant, the sky turning redder as about an hour has gone by since you guys have arrived on the boat.
If it looks like Khalid and Adanu have kind of disengaged from the main conversation, Vanya's going to start asking them about how they were able to become so rejuvenated and whether they're still experiencing any of the degenerative, there we go, effects that Danu had been experiencing before.
Certainly. So we'll say that as Gallium was talking and as Roar gathers his thing, you kind of tucked away to talk to these two. And you find yourself looking at the two elves who are looking glowing. There's a faint light in each of their eyes. Their skin looks smooth and, dare I say, supple. And they both incline their heads to look at you and nod. Adano speaks. Well, it was mostly due to the help of the The young lady from the Mother Islands, and he gestures toward Leah. She had done something to that rift to the negative plane and transferred it to the positive energy plane. And we were able to pull from it, draw from it, sustain ourselves. Without the taint of souls wriggling around against us, with the power freely given, we feel rejuvenated. Cowled nods. The soul power and life force, even if freely given, they're fine alternatives to raw arcane energy, but when when we used his equation to transcend, to cast off our mortality, it was the latent, positive magic of the world that sustained us, at least until it grew entirely too unstable to sustain us. This is why, at times, we have drawn from the jungle itself. It is not a proud thing, but it keeps us going.
So this unique form of undeath that you are in this state, it is empowered and strengthened by the positive plane? By the energies there?
They both nod. Well, little was known about it, but Walter's magic was new and strange, and we had heard stories about necromancy. His approach was peculiar. He he was not a tattered old man like we were expecting him to be. Yeah. Someone says necromancy, you get a certain mental image. Baggy eyes, withered skin, yeah, teeth or lack thereof. Walter Vitalis was filled with life, suffused with it. So much so that at first, we thought he was a healer. Always focused on how best to keep someone alive, how best to take care of his plants. It was a dissonant thing. The idea that this human coined himself a necromancer and yet dealt with life.
I think I need to grab my notebook.
Oh, yes, pull up a seat. I am still indebted to you, and I don't believe there are any secrets worth keeping between us. Khaled kind of nods your direction as you pull up a squat and grab some notes and hang out with some gnolls for a while. At this point, Roar, you have caused Gallium to basically salivate at the idea of new findings.
Karn,
Roar.
give me your staff, please.
Why?
Because Gallium will know what the metal is, and then we can fix it.
Yes. I'll hold out my spear.
He, as you hold your spear, Gallium takes it and looks it over and kind of squints at it, and this is junk.
Scrape the blade.
Scrape the blade. It is counterintuitive to blade sharpness, but Gallium will do as you say. And as he does, he kind of touches his fingertip to the blunt side and drags it across.
I warn people when they're going to do that.
Oh, sorry. I'm forgetting. Gallium forgets the sensitive humanish ears.
You heard me say scrape the blade. That was
He-
warning.
He places the blunt of his thumb and quietly draws this just millimeter thick layer of goop and dirt and silt and what looks to be like oil that's been burnt on.
One
It's like
moment.
scraping the bottom of a burnt pan.
Can Can I lift my hand against the blade and instead of like scraping hard and creating that sound, just gently move my finger and thumb along it and use druid craft to start pushing the dirt and grime away?
Oh yeah, sure, sure. So you make your hand into a magical Brillo pad and gently abrase the blunt of the blade. And Gallium's highlights begin to ignite, and his brows go high. Oh, this is
Not junk.
this is not junk, no. Ha! Where? How? And why is it attached to wood?
This one had to replace the original
He
at
begins
some
to
point
he begins to
many
pull
times.
his fingertip against the binding that you have wrapping it to the wooden staff, and starts to pick away at what attaches it to the haft of the blade, revealing more and more a length of this almost mercurial metal, um, until it comes to a snapped edge, brittle and jagged. You see where it connects to the staff, the metal is dulled. It is the color is dulled. It's darkened, as though tarnished. And Gilliam squints at it slowly and, oh, this should not be possible. It's not said anywhere that celestial steel is to be tarnished. Oh,
Uh,
how did this break, Mr. Karn? He
there
looks at you.
was a battle. This one died the
Oh,
first time.
oh well,
Then
well.
this one. And I just kind of mime climbing or digging. And then there was sun and sand.
He hands the blade and the staff back to you, and he wraps his knuckles, his fingertips against his chin. Well, Gallium is glad you have gotten better. Congratulations. Welcome back to the land of the livings. Uh, hmm,
Uh,
sun and sand.
this one is still questioning better.
How much does Karn remember of the sun and the sand? Karn,
I
give
was about to
me,
ask, how much
give
does Card
me,
remember?
give me a D100. Rory, you were saying something?
Yeah, because Roar got to see something that Gallium didn't. When we were testing out the globe, Karn used one of the abilities naturally to trace his path back, and he came from the desert uh, where they thought the calamity had happened.
Okay. So as you explain it in Karn, you begin to think back to the map and think back to the orb, and you think back to your time in the desert. 35 snippets here and there.
I remember there was a desert.
You remember there was a desert. You remember the sun was hot. The 35, you remember pockets within the desert. Points that you could not bear to stand, as it was impossibly hot. The air around you caught fire, suddenly and without warning. And you remember running. And as it seemed as though your brief second life was about to be snuffed out like cinder, the fire stopped.
It was very
You
hot.
you walked carefully from those points on, but you never could find out why the heat got so hot. You don't recall seeing structures or landmarks, but you recall seeing a whirlwind of sand walk across the desert. You saw cacti filled with holes as though warped through a pockmarked lens that still lived despite all reason defying that. The 35, those are the memories of the desert and the inconsistencies around you there. Something was very wrong in that place, but the other memories, you feel like there was more, but they elude you.
I'll relate it in Broken Karn. Really hot, walking storm, fires everywhere, and then no fires, and it was all very confusing.
And as he says that, and Roar, you explain, Galleon nods slowly. Hmm.
This one also did not remember any of that until these ones started having this conversation.
Hmm. He stares at you, his eyes slots squinting. If Gallium is not mistaken, this sounds like north of Missouri, the Coros Wastes. A small part of the Coros Wastes, near what is known as Agamemnon's Folly. It is a bad place, Mr. Karn. The magic is broken there. A great, ambitious man did a great ambitious thing and fucked up ambitiously, breaking what was once a beautiful jungle, a beautiful plain, and reducing it to sand, death, and strangeness. You are lucky to have survived. But what is beneath? Many of my kind, our kind's pieces and parts have been recovered from that place. Mr. Karn, I have more questions for you, but Gillian, Gillian will think for a while before asking. Is this okay?
This one is perfectly fine with that. This one would like to know more about the spear.
Oh, the spear. It appears to be made of celestial steel. There is a broken edge here. Well, not broken, but chipped, so it must have impacted something very, very strong. You said there was a battle in Koros Wastes. Well, likely to be something very, very powerful, but the ding in this blade.
Ah, the man in black.
Okay.
Man in Black.
Hmm. This one will remember. No, this, and I'll hold out the pole arm. This is not right.
So I'll hold my hand up. So this is where you come in. Well, both of us. Um, we need to remove that masterwork head and put the celestial steel head on instead.
So you lift it up, and Gallium takes the pole arm, looks it over. Duh, okay. We could break it. Would
No,
not be hard.
not break. Careful.
Carefully break. You saw down the middle, then you snap it.
No, no. The proper way. That is a masterwork weapon. I am already pained enough to remove a designed piece from it to put a much better piece that's been broken onto
Make it better.
The Gilliam understands it. Roar, have you not considered alternative?
alternative.
Make it worse.
No, not make it worse. Plagiarize design. You are from Lyceum. Copying is best form of flattery. Study blade, recreate blade, but put no tip on it. That way you have two spears. One very good one and one though kind of okay good one.
Bad one.
Gallium will happily take this one. This is very nicely made.
It doesn't hit well.
He means he doesn't know how to use it.
This
He's
is
a
not
common
right.
problem. He's common problem. So as the Warforged kind of argue over the materials and the process and whether or not Karn can hit the broadside of a barn, Alina,
Yes.
you take notice of a diminutive, robed figure beside you, and you find that Bulgup has situated himself somewhat nearby. And he looks pensive, and you notice this pensiveness. Roll me a quick insight check.
Sure. Why no? That's so good for Alina.
That's pretty good for Alina. With an 18. So with an 18, you look at your froggy companion. You guys haven't spoken much, but you get the impression that there's something on his mind, and he's situated himself closer to you and is hesitant to speak up.
I do not make a habit of biting without consent. You can just say what you want to say.
Yes, well, we have not spoken much, you and I. How are
Friends
you?
are friends.
Friends of friends. How are you?
It is what it is. I'm fine, more or less.
He nods slightly. And you see he's kind of puttering around with his fingers, and there's a little, like, slight twitch in his eye. Your friends have no told you about my situation and my head mate.
Yes. Maybe.
He
Probably.
he's being very pushy right now. Fixated on you, actually.
Alright. I'm sure he is. Naturally. But, sure. What should he like to say?
Uh, Thank you for indulging me. He will not stop until I speak on his behalf. He says, quoting here, "Those are some mighty fine heroics you pulled. Mighty fine indeed."
Is that
Oh, now he's laughing. Now he's laughing a lot.
that is confusing.
He seems impressed, but it's like a meme kind of impressed. Oh, there it goes again.
Huh. Alright. Would he like to share with me, or is he just having fun?
Maybe at my expense. Um, would you... I cannot believe I'm saying this. Would you allow him to speak to you?
Sure.
And he nods. If I do anything untoward, just please punch me
I'll just
repeatedly.
hold on to you very tightly and tie you up until you.
Yes, yes. Don't try to drown me, though. It won't work.
I assume not. You are like
Yeah, it's my thing.
Yeah.
So, after a few moments, Bulgup kind of sits there, and his eyes roll back, and they turn inky black, and you see these strange, whiskery like appendages start to come out from the sides of his face, and his teeth become jagged, and all along his lips, this inky spittle starts to pool up and drool slightly. Alina Moreau. That's your name, right?
It is a name I am called.
It's a fine name. Means ocean, right?
So I am told.
Can you give me a wisdom save?
Sure. Nine.
Does that factor in your... Yeah, it does. Okay. One moment. Have to look up the exact rules on this one.
It's gonna be possessed.
Oh boy.
Oh no, nothing so foul. He would not do something so untoward.
Not on the first night.
Not on the first night. Okay, so you are aware that something has crept into your mind. You feel these little strange wriggling sensations that kind of dredge up a number of old memories, intrusive thoughts almost, as what is currently on your mind becomes more. And Aglorath kind of grins slightly. I always did love humans, even the half ones. They tend to be easy reads. Real fine heroics you did down there. Raven Queen, right? I'm sure that'll go over well with the boss bitch, letting those two come back. I gotta ask, kid. What could drive you to embrace your inner chaos so? I get the human part, I really do. You're the most fun race to play with, but there's something else in there, something divine that I'm scared shitless of. It's exciting. Divine blood, huh? Interesting combination. I wonder what side is stronger, the human or the angel?
If you are scared enough of me, maybe you will remove it yourself from my head.
Easily done. And you feel that sensation pull away. You sense clarity of vision, and the creature that stares at you, there's certainly a malice in them, but there's also this sense of amusement as they look you over. They don't take kindly to breaking oaths. They're too strict. But hey, if you find yourself high and dry, there's always room for more soldiers in the blood war. Let me know how things go.
You'll be the last person I ever tell.
I'm sure I will be. I'm sure I will be. Appreciate the indulgence. The frog is screaming for control. I think I've hit a nerve. Sweet dreams, kid. Bulgup clasps his head and lets out this yelp as the whiskers recede, and he spits this venomous black ink onto the ground. And it's not a loud yelp. It's like being pinched, being poked or prodded. And all during this, most of your allies haven't really paid much mind. Until Bulgup jolts and kind of stammers and, gee, well, what did he do?
Told me nothing I didn't already know.
He was being a bastard.
Just, just teasing me.
Oh, that's better than most. He didn't offer you a deal, did he?
Gods no.
Oh,
I might be an idiot, but I'm not that much of an idiot.
He's made attempts at your albino friend, and I think he's trying to get into the cat's head, and I honestly don't think he has the stones.
For the cat? No. I can't
No,
even get in her head, and I've been her best friend since we were like 12.
Good to know. I need a bath. I thank you for indulging, but I have to take a break from all of this. He gestures toward the party, gestures toward you, gestures to himself, and promptly leaps off the side of the boat.
What the fuck?
Bye.
Splash.
Yeet.
Bulgup feels unclean. He leaves the party for now.
He'll never become clean.
He'll never become clean. Okay, so the night grows a little later. The sky grows a little darker. As the shadows grow long and the sun begins to set, Galleon and Roar and Karn, Galleon has offered a suggestion to make a new polearm and use that celestial steel blade as the pointy end, the stabby end. And he points out the logistics of binding metals together. He actually suggests that perhaps mending might be a means to cobble it together with some braces and brackets, maybe. It won't be as strong as the real deal. Gallium doesn't know the original state of Karn's weapon, but he does suggest a means to amalgamate it. And Roar, from what you gather from this theory crafting, mechanically, if you pull it off, you're looking at a +1 weapon.
Well, I will start off by prestidigitating it because that's the fastest way to get that thing clean and looking spick and span.
Spick and span and clean. And when it is cleaned, you feel like you could take that point, take the haft end, and jam it into take the elongated metal behind the blade, jam it into a haft, and call it a day. You could make a fine dagger out of it. You could, well, that's about it, a dagger or something longer. But you find that it is a fine blade. Its edge could use some work. But the metal itself, allegedly, will take to magic. Karn, you find that the fastening mechanism, the twine and the rope that you have bound this together, you can rebind it easily, but the bind has been removed, and your spear is now in 2 pieces. It's being delicately handled, but this is your baby. So how Karn feels about that is, well, what's going on in Karn's head?
He is hovering and overseeing everything that's happening to his spear.
He's mother henning.
Occasionally going,
You mother hen over it, and you see it's being treated well, and the blade, you could not get it this clean.
That's why I'm trusting them with it this far.
he has given us the Sentinel Spear thing as well?
Yeah.
Okay. And just to make sure I the player was understanding Gallium correctly, he was suggesting don't remove the tip, just flip it around and put put the head on the other side so it is a two-headed spear.
No, his suggestion was to copy the design wholesale, create a new one with the celestial steel blade as part of the building process. Rather than destroy or modify this masterwork, make one of your own.
I thought that the silvered spear was a solid metal thing from tip to tail.
It is. And he's what Gallium has suggested as the third option is to make a new one. But
Do I
instead of
have the materials? Like, I don't think I have the materials to do
you
that.
have a giant like metal circle from that dragon made of silver and gold and platinum.
That is true.
You could buy materials and make it at a later date. As a silvered weapon, you could use mundane metals and then silver it. Functionally, a pure silver weapon, it has to have like a steel core of some kind. Um, Steel itself will not hold up unless it is like magically enchanted, or rather, silver would not hold up unless it was alloyed or magically enchanted.
Right. So what I was thinking was going to happen is not possible currently because I don't have the materials that I would like to have. So what I will do is I will prestidigitate the remains of the spear that he was using, and I will actually take I'll take the head, put it back on, and I will use use my tinkering tools to actually get it mounted in a way that I could use mending a bit to seal it around and have it held at least for now.
So putting Karn's spear back together, but using magic to keep it together better.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Karn, you see the wood kind of like split open and wedged as the spear tip is kind of wedged in firmer and deeper than before. And at first you're like, this is ruining it. You're destroying the wood. And then Roar starts to weave his magic. And the fibers begin to weave in together and bind the blade to the wood with a firmer grasp than you've ever seen. It is solid. It is functionally no different than it was before, but you don't think you'll have to reaffix the blade for a long time.
This is temporary. I need more things that I don't have on me.
What does the roar need? Maybe this one has them?
I don't think you want me to scrap your body for parts.
Woof.
That is dark.
I mean, you technically have them.
Woof.
You offered. I was trying to put a limit on the offering.
This one just wanted to know what the roar needed.
A fair amount of steel.
Ah. Perhaps at New Haven.
Perhaps. Perhaps if we get to the ziggurat, we'll figure out a way to pull out some of that umbral iron and really have fun.
Yes.
Gallium nods and taps his chin contemplatively.
I have improvements I want to make.
These
ones must make the polearm right.
The Gallium will be with you to assist. whenever it is you decide you have enough materials to get the job done. Hmm. For now, uh, Miss Khaled, Madam, Master, thank you. She kind of looks to Gallium for a moment and continues talking with Vanya. You were mentioning there is an artifact of importance. You mentioned the glove, gauntlet specifically. As Khaled turns to look at Gallium, she inclines her head. Yes. Arenda had found a gauntlet said to have belonged to Moradin. Uh, did not know much about it. She said she would eventually come over for tea and we would talk about it. And Gallium nods. He kind of curls a finger and turns his hand over. This Master Arenda say much about the appearance of this glove, gauntlet. And Khalid takes a moment to think. She squints slowly and nods her head. Well, Arenda was short on the details. Said that it was a golden glove made of metals of shining gold. And, there was an indentation upon the back of the palm. Gallium leans back, and his brows go high. And he nods, folding his arms, and looks toward Roar, growing quite quiet. Roar, we need to get this thing. Roar, we need to get this thing.
I mean, I know, but it will be some time. I'm double checking something.
Is that at the ziggurat?
No, that's more past Camp Vengeance. Another one of the stops we need to make.
He said Miss Cliff Mountain. Something
Yes.
about the plane of fire and listen. The gauntlet of Moradin is something that Gallium has trying to find for a long time. Among other things Gallium has been trying to find, but it is said Moradin himself wore it when he forged the weapons of the gods. That his blood and his sweat and his very essence is passed into the gauntlet, giving it spark of his power and his knowledge. It is said whoever has it will know secrets of arcane magics known only to Moradin. Secrets of the Age of Wonders. The old magics. You are understanding. This thing is a relic. Capital R.
Yes, I am. I am very intrigued and wish to. I would love to find it. And I look. The Kalied and Adanu are not too far away, right?
They're not too far away. Catlet is kind of passively glancing your direction, but she is still going over notes with Vanya, looking at her spell book, discussing matters of magic, and she appears to be amused by the fledgling sorcerer turned wizard.
All right, then I will nonchalantly. I'll say, well, we'd probably go to Camp Vengeance first, and then as we're heading to the Mistcliff Mountains, we can check on the Sentinel that's there, and if it has no occupants near it, we just make sure it's in good standing, and then move on.
Ziggurat.
Oh, the ziggurat's the next.
Gallium kind of taps a foot a little bit and folds his arms and nods. Okay. Gallium can wait. Gallium can wait. We'll wait.
Yeah, I tap the alchemical symbol for antimony Antinomy? I can't remember which one.
Antimony.
Yeah. Oh, antimony. That's right. Yeah.
Antimony.
I tapped that on my left shoulder. Crowley did say that there's probably an answer to this symbol at the buried ziggurat. I don't know what this means, and I look over to Karn, and because Karn's friend has not recognized it, I don't think it's part of their culture. Is confusing.
He tilts his head and he looks at the symbol and nods. Well, well, he's one of the old alchemy symbols, but hmm. As Gallium mentions alchemy, um, Vanya, have you been pulling Edith around with you as you take notes and whatnot?
I think when I stepped away to get my notebook, chances are I had left it near where I had been studying with Edith, so I would very quickly kind of run down that everyone's back, adventures were had, the liches are living but still unliving, and there's strange magic at hand, and I need to study.
Okay. So Edith is kind of off and far. She's kind of far off to the side. At the reminder of alchemy, um, Roar, you recall that Vanya's mentor is an alchemist. She's also a hag. In the magical, literal sense, not the personality sense.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Depends if you cross her or not.
She did eat your gorget, so maybe she is a hag.
Yeah, I will. Recalling that, I will actually move towards her cautiously. I have a question if you have a moment.
I might have answers if you have a moment. You made this whirligig. Mighty fine ride.
Well, I didn't make this boat, but we'll meet him probably meet the person who did in a couple of days. I just made it better.
She inclines her head and nods.
I'm told to be on my best behavior, so I suppose answering questions is par for the course. What can I do for you, tall, dark, and mechanical?
Um, well, if you don't want to answer, you don't have to. I don't want to force anything. But I point to the symbol on my shoulder.
She looks it over and nods slightly.
That appears to be that is one of the oldest designs of antimony. Nowadays, they do away with some of that fancy swirligig nonsense, but, well, that's antimony, all right. What do you need to know?
Well, I'm cobbled together from multiple warforged. I'm a one-of-a-kind creation. But I don't know what this means.
Well, beyond it meaning antimony.
She gives a little bit of chuckle.
The symbolism of runework. You understand how runic takes, how you take runic and you make the weave listen to you through that language.
Yeah.
You know how that is done.
I understand it, yes. I've used it as well.
But do you understand how insane the logic is that you can use words to tell magic what to do? Consider it. How does the universal constants and that which creates everything know what those squiggly lines mean?
How does knowing someone's true name grant power to the Fae? Some things are not worth questioning.
She lifts a finger.
Perhaps not to some. But at its core, we call this symbology. We call this ascription. The fact that your squiggly lines have meaning and that you can make that meaning do things is because you believe that that letter, that rune, means something. It is that impetus, that impulse, that desire, and that will that makes the impossible possible. Antimony, its symbology, is surrounded with concepts of life, of animus, of the animal nature, of movement, of shaping, of storing, that impulse to move, to be. Antimony is often considered a vessel of sorts, a receptacle for that power, that will.
Hmm.
In alchemy, symbols make real the desires of their creator. She reaches and she points at that symbol. What do you think that symbol means to you?
Unanswered questions.
An empty space worth filling, maybe with answers. She kind of shifts over and makes a spot on the bench, the sort of rail she's sitting on. You say that you were cobbled together.
Yes. I mean, isn't it obvious?
Takes all kinds, Mr. Creator Man. Some of us might have just thought you were born ugly. She grins as you begin to laugh. We all can't be. You first.
I was just gonna say, I just point to Karn and Gallium.
We tend to be built symmetrical.
She nods and looks them both over and looks back to you.
Built symmetrical, built by the book, all the bits and pieces right where they belong. And then there's you, made of all different pieces and all different parts.
She lifts up a finger and points at that symbol.
With something extra put on. A little bit of extra rule mark. An extra symbol.
Are you suggesting that the man who made me knew this alchemy?
It's possible. Can't say I know the man. But it's entirely possible that is part of what makes you work. Being all made of non-standard issue pieces.
Hmm.
I'd say maybe keep that thing protected. Just in case.
I think you're right.
And do be careful. The further back you go in the study of alchemy, the stranger and more dangerous it becomes. The lines begin to blur between alchemy, the arcane, and the divine. When people give meaning to those squiggly lines, and those lines start listening, and magic starts happening, you get some really weird things happen. Dangerous things. Secrets that weren't meant to be learned. You be careful how far you go chasing the truth, you hear?
I promise I won't deliberately learn alchemy.
She nods, and there's this moment where you see her face sober, serious for a moment.
Right then, well, good luck searching your cigarette for answers.
Thank you. And thank you for talking.
You're welcome. You got any more questions, you let me know. I might have answers.
I will indeed keep that in mind. Actually, I do have one more question, but this one's personal.
She squints at you.
I reserve the right to stay mum about most things. What's on your mind?
If you could permanently change and no longer be swayed by the evil, would you?
It's been mighty fine talking to you, Mr. Raw.
She smiles. Give me an
I
insight check.
nod. Yeah, nah.
Yeah, nah. She is unscrutable as she goes back to being pleasant and charming Edith. You were left with somewhat of an answer. The idea of antimony's symbolism, its symbology, in reference to vessels and the animal spirit and the storage thereof. So the night continues to grow long. By now, oh,
I was gonna say, as I'm letting that stuff stew over my head, I'll actually call out to the people on the boat. Do you want to go back ashore and meet up with the caravan and make camp with them? Do you want to sleep on the boat, or do you want to push on to another location before resting?
I would like to double back to the caravan. I have broken enough promises for today.
We are supposed to be guarding them, yes? We should at least make sure that they are okay.
Yeah, we've kind of been out here for a good while. They're probably worried about us. Because we were kind of worried about you when you were down there.
I'm sure Nerixus is very pissed.
I mean, he hired us to move ahead and clear the way. We've done that. So, and actually, not really hired us, but asked that we help if we could.
he asked you guys to keep an eye out for anything, weird out in the distance just in case. Undead armies,
Yeah.
Can't
So,
feathers.
goblins.
so I look back. I've got these three people saying turn back and meet up. Uh, what do the rest of you say?
I think turning back and touching base would probably be a good idea.
This one can recover anywhere.
Well,
How soon would you like to leave?
well, it's dark now, so we should probably go now. Especially if we're going to get meet up with camp and take advantage of having other people watching rather than cycling the way we normally do.
Would you allow Biff perhaps an hour of time here? There has been much change in the air, in the land beneath us, the water beneath us, if you will. Biff would like to observe it.
Um,
These ones should also make sure to recover the bulg up before these ones leave.
Oh, that's important too.
yes.
So Biff asks for an hour to meditate, to take a short rest, meditate, and feel the air around him. Roar, as it stands, catching back up with the caravan, their shield icon is where they would be camping for the night if all things went according to plan. They are. It took you 4 hours to get here. It'll take you about an hour less to get to them.
Okay. I yes, I if everyone's okay with it, we do have time to wait about another hour, but we will have to leave as soon as possible.
Biff understands. Would have been doing earlier, but there was so much information being tossed around, Biff could not bear to tear away.
So, as Biff settles down to meditate and spiritually assess the situation, I'd like to call for a quick 5 minute break. Gotta take care of a worker and refresh my drink.
Sounds good.
Alrighty.
Even the demons know Alina's fucked. I said even the demons know Alina is fucked.
Is your recording still on? So
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know if you were actively muted or not.
No. Mm-hmm. I think their character portrait has a white stripe, though I don't remember.
Yeah, oh yeah, it has a tuft of white at the front, I think. You're right. Like a punk tuft, not a...
Mm-hmm. He thought she was going for kisses.
Oh god, that's so disgusting.
It's so bad.
funny.
It's so bad and so true.
Oh. Never trust a baby that young to be coming in for kisses. It's almost always to puke in your mouth.
I have returned and decided to make that everyone else's problem.
Welcome back.
Yay!
Thanks.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Alina's like that kid on the bus who knows she has a bad report card.
Oh no. Well, on the bright side, you guys are going to be going back to Caravan, and um, Alina's mentor is there.
True.
True. Possibly, maybe.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Assuming everything has gone according to plan.
I mean, Bones left Shadow in charge, so it's probably fine.
It's probably fine. What is this cute Pikaru? All these cute little animes. Oh, that's Jin. I guess that's Jin. Cool. That is absolutely Crystal. Vanya is Hex Maniac. Got it. That Verdi's killing me. Verdi doesn't have that guy's goat horns.
Those
Yeah.
were the
He wishes he had those goat horns.
He wishes he had nice, big, fat horns like Heldy does. The tiefling envy is real.
Horns come in all shapes and sizes, and they're all beautiful.
No, there's some that are definitely not pretty. It's just like, what movie was that? No, it wasn't a movie. It was that fucking bullshit anime, Inuyasha. For every one of the pretty ones, there's 10 more ugly as sin ones when it comes to half demons.
Inuyasha, the soap opera of anime.
I thought that was Dragon Ball Z.
I thought
One's for
anime
girls,
was the soap
one's-
opera of anime.
Anime is the soap opera of anime. That Taima was reincarnated as a slime is the soap opera of anime. As Loose Cannons becomes the soap opera of anime. I see Cece is back. Is everyone else here?
Is back.
Is back. Okay. What is going on here? Bear with me for one moment. There we go. Okay. So as we dive back into game, or slowly wade our way back into game, Biff takes a cross-legged position upon the deck and begins to meditate. Let's see here real quick. Okay. So, Biff, as you begin to meditate, you have two options. You can sense for confluences, or you can sense key.
Biff would sense for keep.
All right, you are coming in really quiet. Did you move your mic?
How about this?
That's better. Okay.
Okay, yeah. Biff would sense
All
for
right.
keep.
Sense for keys. So, sensing key. You choose a creature within 30 feet of you. If the creature remains within that range for the duration of your trance, you can choose to learn that creature's spiritual pressure. Spiritual pressure is a representation of that creature's wholeness of spirit, vitality, their life force, and their capacity to bend, twist, or grow spiritually. You can also determine whether a creature is spiritually scarred or suffers from another spiritual malady.
Would you actually saying that to me or just reading out loud?
I'm reading off. That's the ability. That's the only one I did.
Oh, Biff more like wanted to feel the area. So I guess that would be sensing for like because we know that there's one underneath. I guess
Yeah.
what Biff.
All right. So you're sensing the stability of the weave around.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So sensing confluence. Um, let's see. What is your current monk level?
8.
8. So 4 hexes out. Okay. Okay. Um, yes. Yes. So, as you sit upon the River Ocean Star above the ruins of the Temple of Moa, you are aware that there is a point of confluence beneath you that is attuned to the power of the plane of positive energy, the plane that Leah studies, the plane that suffuses the Baelnorn liches with their ability to sustain themselves. You sit and close your eyes and open your mind. And though you lose your ability to hear and see and feel those around you in the physical world, your consciousness begins to wander, and you spread that awareness outward. You sense in the miles surrounding you a calmness in the jungle. You sense a tipping of the scales as the sun is setting. That golden warmth still seems to pervade the area, suffuse the area. This area that you sit upon now, in the boat, and the miles surrounding it, feel safe, for lack of a better word. It feels good, for lack of a better word. To the far south, you feel something dark encroaching upon this warmth. Something viscous and inky and clawed and pincered. You feel it grab and tug at the energies of the world like a vacuum with arms, with tentacles, something that devours. You sense negativity to the south. Powerful, potent, not just the absence of power, but a siphoning thereof, an anti power. It makes you think of the temple as it was hours before. To the west, and slightly to the south, just within the periphery of your spiritual gaze, you sense something solid, something hard. You sense the weight of the world and the strength of the earth. It reminds you of almost of broken earth. But there's something dark there. There's something that tugs, not to swallow, but to obscure. You get the sensation of secrecy, of concealment, like the deep, dark caves that you found a Bulgub in. Let me just check that range one more time. And that's what you get. You get a ping of something negative to the far south of you. Get the ping of earth and darkness to the west and slightly south. These points are just barely within the reach of your spiritual sight. As Biff pulls away and his focus wanes, you see him open his eyes. Biff, you take a breath that you didn't realize you were holding.
It is something not too far from here. Far enough to be a trek, but Biff feels a darkness close by. One that Biff cannot readily ignore, And Biff looks up and around for Roar.
Which direction?
There are two. One to the south, stronger, more direct. And then to the southwest, less focused, but definitely there.
Well, to the south could be partially southwest from here. Is the ziggurat based on our map? But you said southwest as well?
Yes.
It's
So,
westerly. It's westerly and ever so slightly south.
uh,
So maybe one hex beneath you, but far enough away that it's just on the periphery of your gaze. So
west
it's
southwest.
west southwest. Yeah.
So,
So towards Camp Righteous.
is he pointing in that direction towards Mushroom Caves, or is
You
he
guys, you
more
guys
like
can,
here?
yeah. So as Biff kind of points around, and Verdi with a compass is like, "Oh, that's that direction." Um, yeah, Biff is pointing toward the vague direction of that cavern that Verdi had spotted earlier, the one where the mushrooms had been growing rather prolifically.
Hmm.
And to the south, he is pointing at the ziggurat. You know it.
Well, when you felt the two, is one more powerful than the other, the south or the southwest?
So to clarify that for Biff, to the south feels like a vacuum. It feels like anti everything. It feels like um, everything that is the world, but in reverse. To the west, it feels like shadows. It feels like concealment. It feels like a dark night. But there's still that natural ping of this belongs. It's just shady, deep, dark.
Yeah, Biff's definitely gonna relay that with emphasis on the unnatural feeling of what is south.
That would definitely be the ziggurat then. Um, we definitely want to do that. Uh, if it's the caves near the where mushrooms were marked, I mean, we were intending to go by that direction anyways, so perhaps we'll be able to determine what's going on there. Do you, do you think it's another conflux point?
Biff shakes his head. No, Biff would definitely know. See if there was a conflux point there. Biff would more likely think there were one south. The one to the east was not strong enough to be a conflict. It belonged there, but it is as if someone or something is obscuring. If that is conflux point, Biff cannot see it right now.
Obscuring. That's troubling. But yes, we'll keep that in mind.
All right, so Biff, you relay your information. Roar, you begin to formulate a plan. Mitch, were you saying something?
Nope.
I thought I heard something. Okay, cool. All right, so Roar, the night begins to grow along, the shadows begin to creep, and the sun begins to set. The sun does set pretty late here. It's just now starting to uh, sink beneath the horizon, the water on the horizon.
All right. If we're done waiting, I think everyone should um, get comfortable and hold on tight.
Oh, and by now, yes, you have found Bulgup, and he has come aboard begrudgingly.
Good.
So you ask the party to hold on. The elves hold on. Gallium just remains put. He's very heavy. Bulgup finds a shady corner to sit in.
I get to the helm, do a quick maneuver to swing the ass end of the boat around, and then I smirk. And I'll call it, Master Cowlet, have you flown yet?
She blinks several times. Well, once or twice.
Well, this might be a new experience. Hold on. And they'll push the ship to fly at full speed down the river.
So as the ship begins to lift up and fly, Khaled stands up and holds onto the rail and leans over the side, her eyes wide, full of wonder, as you punch it. And if she had hair, it would be billowing. Uh, she laughs for most of the duration as you kick up water behind you, and start to blast along the river, just above the water.
And I'll get the boat moving so that we can get to the spot where they should be camping, and get it, slowed down and not kicking up too much near them as we come in, so it's not a terrible burden.
All right, so after about an hour of travel, you begin to slow the ship down and search for signs of the caravan. You see, in the night sky, there is a column of smoke not too far in the distance. As you pass above the trees, the tree line, you see a number of rangers walking. It appears to be trios of these scouts working together in these little pods of three. You come across some. You get some. You get some looks. No one seems to be too worse for the wear. You find, among them, there's the occasional warrior clad with armor and sword or hammer, as it might be. Um, it seems the people of the caravan have fanned out. The scouts are returning to the point. No one seems to be moving with a sense of panic or urgency toward this thin column of smoke. Um, as the ship continues along the water's curving serpentine path, you find a break in the woods and get a clear view. You have dark vision with the the belt of dwarvenkind, right?
Yep.
Okay. And Alina with your natural dark vision, and Verdi with your natural dark vision, and Leah with most of you with your natural dark vision. You can see in the break of the tree line that there are a number of wagons, all kind of circled around. There's a large pyre off to the north of the caravan as it is kept. Um, Alina, you see a dead pyre when you see one. You know one when you see one. As you guys get close, you see that there are scattered undead that are being put to rest. It's not a huge amount, but it's best to take full measures, and this group of travelers, it's no different here. Within the circle of the caravan, there are people making camp. There are pits being dug, small fires being lit to cook. Some game has been brought in to help supplement the rations. You see people moving from wagon to wagon. There doesn't seem to be any immediate signs of damage. No one seems to be wounded outside of some nicks and scrapes. Um, there does seem to be a white tent off to the side, treating a few people who have um, seen combat today, but there aren't many. Among them, with nearby this white tent, you do see a small halfling uh, question mark clad in way too much armor. Alina, you recognize this as Incognitus, and she seems to be propping up what looks to be a ranger who is hobbling on one leg, not bleeding. Looks like someone may have tripped and twisted something. You guys touch down near the caravan. There's some fanfare, some whoops and hollers as a fucking flying boat touches down around the circle of wagons.
Mbanje's on the edge, excitedly waving, trying to get him Incognitus's attention.
Incognitus, your party member question mark is waving, not frantically in your direction, but excitedly in your direction. It's hard not to notice him, even with a visor on.
I will get this person situated, and then I will go find out what's up with party member question mark.
Right on. As far as situated, do you like pick them up and throw them to where they have to go, or gently bring them? How gruff is Metal Mom Halfling?
As long as they're not trying to use me as a cane, I'll walk them.
It's real hard. You are a halfling. They are leaning
Like,
on your
as long
shoulder.
as it's like hand on shoulder, not hand on head.
Yeah, no, they're on your shoulder.
I was about to say,
You-
Helena will go trade spaces if needed.
You managed to get this hobbling gentleman over to the medical wing. Gets a brace slapped on real quick. It doesn't take long. But your duty's done. You make your way to the boat and greet the party.
I think on the way back to camp, Vanya would be sitting with Verdi, so Verdi can share exactly what went on down there. And so they have a chance to chat because Vanya's excited about all of her new discoveries.
Oh hell yeah! You guys have You guys have caught up for at least an hour, and continue to do so. Verdi, you give Vanya all the deets. Show off a shiny new bow, some shiny new armor.
And so many vials of slime.
So much slime. Vanya, you think that Verdi might have a fixation with viscous fluids, gels even. But Verdi does produce a what slime do you what ooze do you provide for Vanya's perusal? Okay. As Verdi collects their slime.
There is 2 vials of sapphire jelly, 2 vials of black pudding jelly, and 2 vials of gray ooze goo.
Oh, you took samples! This is most excellent.
Leah also has a black pudding goo and a poisoned black pudding goo.
It's more poison than goo.
Will Leah join them to share in her findings?
Or
As Vanya is gushing about samples and goos and oozes, she'll also pause to make a note with Leah about wanting to learn more about this positive energy stuff, since it was mentioned she had something to do with what happened to the Baelnorns. Just something for them to talk about at camp.
All right.
And once in camp, Leah will probably park herself someplace near the medical tent because even if she's not actively helping, her aura is.
Just being there, man. Just a moral support. So Mbanje and Alina, Incognitus approaches the ship. Sees what all the fuss about is happening with Mbanje, who is waving with enthusiasm.
And his pet friend and tucked under his arm.
You still have that fucking Jaggy. Give me a quick animal handling check. With advantage, you're a Furbolg.
He's a furbolg, but the Jaggy is an asshole. Does it compensate?
Um,
I mean, it's a slightly higher DC, but it still has advantage.
It's going to be a slightly higher DC, but yeah, advantage is advantage.
My first roll was a 19 on die for a 22. So
Ooh, 22. All right. So there was a brief moment on the ship while the others were under the water, and the Jaggy wanted to go under the water and catch the fish and run away. Um, there may have been some biting. By the time you make it to camp and the ship has set down again, the terrified little creature has an understanding of the situation that it's in, and you think you have impressed upon it a few tenets of what being a good boy is. It remains calm and peeks its head up and looks about with that nervous energy of a chihuahua with too many teeth, um, but seems to be amicable to being held. Not under your control, but it is receptive to your presence and is not fighting to get away.
slowly but surely.
Alina's gonna go find Jean because she did a bad.
Alina, you hop off the side of the boat as it's docked. It's just a quick thump. You land on the ground, boots planted. Um, it's not hard to find Jean. She's somewhere out there. You can roll a perception check to try to find her, but
Gonna
it'll
go
just affect
well.
how long it takes.
Maybe she'll find
It's
me
just
first.
it's just going to affect, yeah, either she finds you, you find her, eventually you will. And Banji, did you have a thing that Banji was going to do?
No, it's just like
Catching up.
catching up.
Okay. Catching up. So, as you catch up with Incognita, you learn some shit. Some weird wizard shit happened. These dudes are liches. Liches are bad. These guys seem cool. What the fuck? How does Incognitus react to um, this? Learning this.
Well, Incognitus is fully aware that halflings are halflings, but not all halflings are halflings. So, and that's based on the stout folk versus this clan versus that clan. So, like, okay, new liches.
No, which
Seems
is
okay.
cool. Let me add this to my lexicon. They seem chill. If they get bitey, maybe there's a problem. So,
Like,
as
for now, they've been spoken for.
they're being vouched for, yeah. That he's heard secondhand, probably getting the story a little bit more hyperbolic by the moment. Um, you share with him the happenings with the caravan. Um, there were some undead that attacked, or rather, some undead got in the way, turned angry, real angry, and started to cause some problems. A fight broke out ahead of the caravan. You were called into it. Um, and then maybe like 5 hours ago, the undead stopped fighting. It's as though they forgot what they were doing. And some people who were kind of chucklehead hucksters got some kills under their belt that maybe they shouldn't have.
So they just stopped fighting, just
It
kind
would
of like stiffed up and then started wandering in the middle of a fight.
that would seem to be the gist of it. Yeah. Among other things, there were some jaggies. A great jaggy made an appearance. There was some fighting, some bites. The tent is tending to some of the bites. But beyond that, things have gone pretty well for the caravan today.
Hopefully the Jaggy didn't get bitten. It's the last thing we need.
Now, the jaggies did some biting. Let's see. So, as you catch up with Incognita, and Verdi catches up with Vanya, and the Baelnorns become tourists, Elena, you search for Jean. Yeah, we'll touch on that. So, Alina, you hop off of the ship and you begin to search for your mentor. Jean Delacroix, she is often somewhere where she is needed. In this particular instance, you find her not at the. Oh, confirm. Gotta check something real quick. Make sure the mechanics are working.
Also, I will point out that if Leah overhears the undead just suddenly stopped being aggressive 4 hours ago. She may
Oh
pipe.
yeah.
She'll likely pipe up about. Well, that's about the time we shifted the font of negativity to positivity. Fair job.
Whoops. Let's see. Susie, can you try sending that again? I think I missed the prompt.
Oh, I was clicking it.
Oh, okay. Confirm. Good. So, you find Jean is not by the medical tent, but is toward the center of the caravan, speaking with a number of Grey Guard Rangers. These are some seasoned veterans who have been working this jungle for a while. They would be in. They would be considered, on par with Verdi in terms of their experience. They're seasoned. They know their shit. Among them is Uncle Nori, who is keeping a low profile, but you spot his cape. As dark as he wants to be, it's you can't wear Vanta black and not expect to be the shadow in the room. You approach, and Jean catches your eye, and she lifts a gauntleted hand to address you. The Rangers begin to disperse from her position as she approaches. I see you've returned. How goes the... What were they, ruins? On the river? River ruins.
I fucked up.
Oh dear.
I mean, maybe I fucked up. I don't. Like, morally, I don't feel like I fucked up, but, like, literally, probably fucked up.
Okay, this would be a good time to give me context.
Right.
I was planning on sitting and having some rations and some drink. Have you eaten? You look paler than usual.
I don't think I ate this morning.
Okay, yes, we're going to remedy that next. Come. She kind of gestures to you to follow her. She has a tent nearby, and outside there is this stump that looks like it has been cleaved off of the ground, and it is a fresh stump. There's a blanket set atop of it to not get sap on the ass, but it looks like she has made her own seating arrangements. And she enters her tent, comes back with some satchels, some water skins, and a bottle of an amber liquid that you recognize as as Tej. Right, well, sit, eat, drink.
Yeah. Alina is in the mood to just do what she's told at this point.
Okay, so you sit, you eat, you drink. And after a while, your stomach settles enough that you can chat.
So we did the ruins, normal derelict temple stuff,
Right.
And then we got to killed some undead, put some the normal stuff, lots of
Oh,
zombies,
brilliant.
the usual.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, the usual.
Yep.
Corrupted temple, some evil wizard, whatever. Ghouls, zombies. Yes, a typical cleaning
Got some cool
session.
new weapons, so yeah.
Cool new weapon. Good, good.
And then we went down into the corrupted area of the temple, and there was like a rift. I heard them call it of that goes to the negative plane, and we fixed it.
Right. I'm sorry. Could you slowly, and I beg that you frag your brains as much as you can. Repeat that, please.
There was a large pillar of negative energy that Biff said was a rift to the negative plane.
You see, she taps her lip with her knuckle and comes to take a seat beside you, cross legged on the ground. and her brows are furrowed.
And then there was a lich, too.
But you are alive.
I mean, yes, we fixed the rift.
One hard, slow blink later. And the lich was dispatched somehow?
The lich is nice now?
Another long, slow, and hard blink. She takes the bottle of Tej from you and takes a swig and puzzles over this information as there's some incongruency that doesn't quite line up.
I don't know. She was called a Baelnorn by some of the smarter people.
I I have no idea what that means.
Me neither.
And she hands you the bottle back.
Alina is like taking some swigs.
Oh, right, so it's an intelligent form of undead. And it's nice.
Cooperative was trying
Okay.
to help
Okay.
control the undead and make it so that settlements didn't get attacked.
Well, it's said that undead creatures have a modicum of control over the creatures of the night and the undead. Vampires, for instance, they can um, spread out their influence, manifesting in the control of small beasts and zombies, skeletons, everything weaker than them. They can kind of push around. So I suppose that makes sense. It's not a vampire. This is a lich, yes.
It's a lich. Also, it's not the only one, because apparently Roar has been walking around with a lich in his portable hole.
There's this look on her face that's like this weird mix of shock and disgust? Question mark. Like it's hard to place, but her jaw is slightly slack. Her teeth are kind of showing. She's kind of squinting as she's just puzzling and processing this information. Uh, right. Well, if they're anything like vampires, and I'm afraid that's really my only frame of reference. Oh gods, I'm quite out of my element with this. But if they're willing to help, they're willing to help.
Right, and they both seem, once we fix the negative rift thing.
You keep saying that thing, and you're certain that it is.
Yes, it turned into a positive rift, and Leah got pulled in. So of course I tied a rope to myself and jumped in.
I feel like I've gotten the worst possible assignment. Thank you for rubbing that in further.
And then we saw Uktao, and I gave him a wink and a thumbs up, and then we left.
So at that, she stands. And she places her palm on your forehead and pushes until your chin is like at a 45-degree angle, and you see that she is staring at your eyes. Look to the left, please.
Yeah.
Look to the right, up, down, follow my finger.
Mm-hmm.
She brings her palm close to your face, and there's this strobe of white light between her fingertips. And it's like really bright and really unpleasant to look at. And then she pulls her hand away and releases your forehead. No, you're not concussed. Okay. Suppose this is not the ramblings of a unwell person, and I'm not saying that you're an unwell person, but it does seem rather.
Yeah, it gets better. So, after all that, I let the liches live.
She kind of nods, and then there's this like momentary pause, and she takes in a sharp breath. Oh no, that's a. I see what you mean now, with the fucking up. That's a problem.
Yes, but I don't know. I couldn't murder my friends right in front of them, and they were friendly and trying to help and all around cooperative. So I don't know. I fucked up.
She places a hand on your shoulder. You fucked up, yes. But do you feel like you fucked up? What does your hot song say?
That I need a lot more Tash.
That you need a lot more Tash. That's the first step in recovery.
And then a demon made fun of me, which is pretty fun.
She places her palm on your forehead again, and you feel this pulse of just warmth across your body. And she chants something under her breath, rapid fire. And you recognize that she is casting a restorative spell of some kind.
Yeah, yeah.
She looks you over. Repeat that, please.
A demon made fun of me?
Okay, well, you're not crazy. You're not cursed either.
No, I told him to stop it and to fuck off.
Well, that sounds par for the course. Oh goodness. I have rapidly come to realize just how out of my element I am with this. But it's not wrong to not want to kill a friend of a friend. That's pretty normal. To fly off the handle and do that without a second thought is, well, it borders on zealotry. And you've never been that kind of Talon.
No.
No.
I mean, I had an opportunity when she was being kind of a bitch to kill her, but I tackled her instead because Aurora insisted that she was actually nice underneath it all.
Well, things seem to be working for the best. Perhaps you should meditate on this and, during your devotions, seek guidance. If only Chantal were here, she'd know what to do.
Smack me on the back of the head with her mace?
Probably, but she'd teach you a valuable lesson while doing it. All I can do is say, hey, good job following your heart.
That makes me feel a little bit better.
That's what we do.
Alright, I'm going to go face the consequences of my own actions.
Alright, well, she kind of gestures toward the tent. I have my censer in there if you need something to burn, a holy book to place your hand on, or whatever it is. I will be around. I do have to check on some of the people, but listen, if you feel unsteady on your feet or start bleeding from the ear, if there's something I missed, just do come find me.
Of course.
Of course. She nods curtly and gives you like a little bit of a salute, and then turns about face to deal with the rest of her rounds.
Yeah, I'm gonna go borrow her tent.
All right, you borrow her tent.
In fact, I'm just gonna camp with her.
All right, you camp with Jane. All right, so while you're doing this, what's everyone else doing? Roar, you've parked the boat. You've got Warforged buddies in the boat. Vanya and Verdi, you guys are going over goo samples with Leah. And Banja, you're rattling off stories to Incognitus, who's in kind, informing you about the day's events, practically and accurately.
Roar's going into Sentinel rest because he desperately needs to finish his next long rest here.
He has to unfuck himself. Yeah, Roar, you go into your Sentinel's rest, Sentry's Watch, Sentinel, whatever, right away, and begin to repair and restore yourself. It's a thriving camp. There's a watch outside. There's a perimeter. Those weakest are kept inside, of course. There seems to be a lot of jovial, bouncing around and moving around and cooking and carousing. Not too loud, but it is only the edge of the forest that these guys are in. Um, and from your vantage point on the boat, you can kind of see it all.
Biff, like in settling down, remembered that he had like a bunch of potions that needed identifying. Lee is busy tending to the hurt or like being around there. So he's gonna look around for anyone who can like help him small case or capital identify these things.
So with potions, most of the time, you can identify a potion by tasting a little bit of it.
He's gonna not do that.
Okay. Um,
Like as much as it is Biff to do that, he's like too tired to entertain the idea of growing super large or growing super small and making it everyone else's problem.
this is everyone else's problem. Do you happen to remember where you found those potions?
Yes, they all came from the wrestling match.
Oh, you have all those! That's sick.
I'm gonna say Leah can tell. Leah's aura isn't a thing she upkeeps actively.
No. You do see that Leah is kind of like. Okay, so you have a couple of different options.
And
But you
Vanya
first.
is sitting with Leah, and she she's got a big book of wizardly things and has studied under a potion mistress.
Well, yeah, but like as long as they don't look like busy tending to the sick and hurt, then he'll go over. But I assume that, like, I know that Leah was like passively just being around there for vibes. Um,
I
but
I
I'm
imagine
providing
that.
to the
I,
sick tent.
yeah, I imagine Leah's just like sitting there, and Verdi and Vanya are sitting across from her, kind of like in a little camp of their own. Verdi checking their gear, and Vanya has books open and notebooks and scribbling things as she asks questions.
okay, Biff will go to the devils he knows and approach them.
Okay. I'm actually going to close your character sheet for a moment because I can't get rid of it otherwise.
Okay.
It didn't close. It didn't close. What the fuck? Okay, cool. Um, weird. The rules don't matter anymore. So you make your way over to Vanya and Leah as you have this big satchel full of clinking potions that you have somehow managed to keep from breaking during your travel.
He didn't carry it all with him at the entire time. He's like he retrieved them from somewhere, somebody who's holding them on the caravan. Yeah.
Fair enough. You also have a boat that you could have stowed it on. So Biff produces this bag full of different bottles, all just kind of clinking around. Do you have it marked on your character sheet which bottles you have?
No, the only thing it says is like 8 bottles, eight unidentified potions from wrestling match.
8 unidentified potions. Okay. So, Vanya and Leah, over the course of like a half hour to an hour, you guys take time to identify these potions the non-magical way by checking out what's in them, and some of them are quite strange. They're viscous when you're not expecting them to be viscous. They're fizzy when you're not expecting them to be fizzy. It looks like honey or sap or some kind of plant extract has been put into these potions that make them unique and slightly different from what you expect. Almost as though someone who made them had improvised the ingredients or had perhaps an unorthodox way of crafting their alchemy. Among
3
them,
guesses to figure out who made these, and the first 2 don't count.
the first two don't count. The first
No,
is,
I know who made these.
you might know who made this, the crazy old man on top of the hill. Crazy old scale man on top of the hill. the weird
The crazy old
alchemist.
lizard on top of the hill.
Crazy old lizard on top of the hill. There's a news article about him. Um, it's not hearsay. It's not slander. Libel? It's not libel.
In
One
print,
of
it's
them,
libel.
in print, it's libel. One of them is a long and slender bottle with metal bands running vertically along them, filled with a faintly bubbling, shimmering golden liquid. Um, we'll say, Leah, you identify this as a potion of speed. The person who drinks it receives the effects of a haste spell for the entire duration of the spell, concentration not required. It'll essentially make you move fast and act quicker. The second is a viscous green bottle that, Vanya, you almost think is troll's blood. But after giving it a whiff and giving it a little taste to the tip of your tongue, you find that it is pleasant on the skin, and it quickly spreads to fill your mouth with this, not numbing, but like this coating that is unctuous and a little sticky and somewhat alkaline. You recognize this as a potion of acid resistance. It will neutralize the effects of acid to some degree to the drinker. It lasts for about an hour.
I think he got the amount wrong with this potion.
And now we know why Jaeger talks like that.
He once bought
It
something off a shady lizard in a cloak.
Shady lizard in a cloak. The third is a round bottomed flask filled with a potion that looks to be boiling. It is red on the outside, and it is bright yellow in the center, as though it were red hot like iron. Yeah, you take a whiff of it and you realize this is a spicy meatball. You recognize it as a potion of fire breath. It's what's on the label. Drink it and you will belch fire. Vanya, as you come across this gray, mercurial looking liquid in a thin and slender, intricately designed glass vial, um, you tilt it and turn it, and the potion separates from itself like water suspended in oil. But there's no second liquid. The fluid just kind of floats around inside of the air before settling back in the bottom. And this is a weird one. Give me a history or arcana check. I'm going to give you advantage for reasons that you may discover.
Okay, I'm going to do Arcana. All right, 15.
15. Okay. Your purview is hedge magics. And something speaks to you. This is not part of the regular schools of magic. This is not based upon the tenets of evocation or abjuration or necromancy or what have you. This looks like one of those exotic magics that are studied in the far reaches of Gilneas. Like the old man on the mountain, the strange witch in the tower, remote places, magic that may or may not be entirely understood or trusted. Um,
What
you
did that
don't
old lizard make?
you don't remember the name of the school of magic, but you know that there is a flicker of the power of chance within this potion. It's a potion that grants you luck. Or so you think. So you believe. It's a potion of advantage.
Did Crowley actually pull? What did he do? This is most interesting.
So these are Crowley's made potions. Would
Mongo didn't drink that
probably
one.
probably account for the look.
Oh, yes, they are quite potent, but very incorrectly made.
Let's see. There's a few more potions left.
Alternatively made.
Let's just say that Lee, you pick up another potion, and it's a round bottled flask filled with a golden red liquid.
Did
And
Biff just grab Crowley's sack and make off with it?
Crowley abandoned it. Biff picked it up.
Yeah, Crowley just
Biff
like
picked
left
it up.
with it.
He just left with it. He got his data. Everything else is not necessary. Yeah, essentially that's what you gather from this. During the wrestling match with Crowley dropped his stuff, and Biff the victor picked it up. That's a weird story.
Yeah, Verdi would have definitely asked how the hell did he get potions like this from Crowley? Knowing Crowley.
Knowing Crowley.
Biff beats Crowley.
Please say Biff regales them with the story of the wrestling match.
Biff
Why not?
regales them with the story of the wrestling match of Homewrecker and Leonard Monty, and how Biff broke the champion of the Raven Queen in the middle of the town square. Biff, the owner of a single block of land in the middle of Gnome Town.
You know that's just a show, right?
You're just a show.
What?
Are you pouting?
Leave Biff alone and finish.
Leah, you pick up this round bottom.
Finish, please.
Leave Biff alone and finish, please.
Okay.
Okay. So, Leah, you pick up this round bottom flask that is filled with a warm golden red liquid. And you see inside there is floating what appears to be a semi-transparent sliver of a chitinous material, very faintly translucent. It looks like it's got fingernail almost.
You know what this one is?
Yeah, you kind of like realize what it is as you identify it as a potion of fire giant strength.
I was gonna say the only question is what kind of giant.
It's too hot to not be.
Glad Mongo didn't drink this one too.
Mongo already plenty strong. One of the last potions that you're not entirely sure of, Vanya, you begin to look over. It is similarly slender, like the potion of speed. This one is filled with a more gold-colored liquid that seems to glow. One sec. That's the one. You recognize this by several different names. Potion of courage, potion of vigor. You understand it. Its true name is the potion of heroism.
This is a potion especially for you, Mr. Beef.
Oh, Biff flexes.
So, after drinking this, the recipient gains 10 temporary hit points that last for an hour. For the same duration, they are under the effects of a bless spell, essentially. It's a stimulant.
It's cocaine in a cup.
Cocaine in a cup.
It's PCP in a cup.
PCP. You can't break
Evil-
these cuffs.
You might be able to break these cuffs. You might be able to break these cuffs. Biff can break the cuffs for sure. Bones might be able to break the cuffs with this potion. With that, there are 2 flasks left, which you both identify as potions of superior healing. And I'm going to move those into Biff's sheet so Biff can decide what he wants to do with this fucking bounty. That's all of them. You might have to reload your character sheet for it to show, but it's in your inventory.
Okay. Thank you.
So, with that, you identify your potions. You spend some time with the girls. You regale them with the story of the wrestling match to end all wrestling matches. Biff, give me a perception check.
3. Oh, wait. Plus. I mean, it's not gonna matter. Oh, actually, a 10.
10. One moment. Attributes. Stealth. Oh, yeah, no. So as you tell the story and you come to the end and you kind of like build yourself up, you notice one of the turtles, one of the monks that you've seen before. From a distance, from beyond the other side of the fire, you see the youngest of the quartet, the one who had referred to himself as Arank. He seems to be watching you, staring with his dark eyes. Give me an insight check.
16.
16. You get the sense that he's not giving you the stink eye, but the dude's got a beef. The dude most certainly has a beef. And as you watch for a few moments longer, you see the fire kind of flare up. You see someone walk in between you and your target. And as they move past, obscuring Arank, he is gone. You guys lock eyes for a moment. Someone walks by. He just ghosts.
Absolute ninjas.
Absolutely ninja. All right.
Out
Before
of
we...
character. That's the
Hmm?
one that wanted to spar with Biff, isn't it?
Good eye! Yes, that is the one that had challenged Biff to a spar not too long ago.
He's he's waiting for you, Biff.
So with that, we are it's getting kind of late. Um, is there anything that anyone would like to wrap up with tonight's session before we call it for tonight?
I am good.
I'm satisfied.
We can leave Alina on a cliffhanger.
Oh yeah. Oh, I there was never any doubt that that's where I was going to leave you tonight. I gotta get you interested in next game. This is how it works. So speaking of cliffhangers, as you guys begin to like bed down for the night and prepare, Karn, you hear the voice of Rua speak up in through your shadow.
I think I'm ready to try that thing that the elf mentioned. Coming out?
Look at the moon. And at her words, you kind of glance up and you see the moon is exactly half waning. One side is white, the other side is completely dark. There's a little shift and a ripple in the shadows around you. And almost like black mist, the shadows begin to expand up from the deck of the boat. As you peer around and look for what's happening, you perceive a pair of squinty, lambent yellow eyes piercing the darkness from where your shadow was. That's where we're going to call it.
Ooh. Alrighty.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sticking with it tonight. I know it was pretty info